When I was growing up, Nintendo was the thing. The original NES console, Super Mario, Legend of Zelda, Metroid, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, Battletoads, Hollywood. Battletoads. Then we got into Sega and all things Sonic. Then Super Nintendo came out and I played a lot of Donkey Kong Country, Aladdin, and Turtles in Time. Nintendo 64 was a revelation. Mario 64, Mario Kart, the lesser known but still great Diddy Kong Racing, and of course the masterpiece of masterpieces, Ocarina of Time. For many kids my generation and after, video games were just a part of growing up. After school, I'd go to one of my friends' houses and we'd play 64 or Sega Saturn for a few hours, go outside, run around, play some more, go home. We played video games because it was something to do, like playing horse in the driveway or wall ball. It was just another form of competition, the pure competition of games, which is just a way of filling free time with purpose. The last console I ever owned was PlayStation 2, and I fell off gaming when gaming got much more complicated than the side-scrolling that I grew up with. If at that time you would have asked me, can video games be art? I would have said, I'm 13, what do I know? My opinion on it now is that those games were games. The objectives were clear, the rules relatively simple, like soccer or basketball or any other sport. The primary purpose of the experience was to win. In the period since, games have become vastly more complicated, and the question of whether or not that form is an art, a fine art, has become the topic of serious philosophical debate. Legally, of course, that decision was decided on much more specific terms. It started in the early 80s when a series of American court decisions found that video games could not be covered under art's free speech protections because they were no more expressive than pinball or chess. Those precedents determined much of what followed. In 2002, federal judge Stephen Limbaugh ruled against the protection of games, saying that, like bingo, the court fails to see how video games express ideas, impressions, feelings, or information unrelated to the game itself. Not until 2011 did the matter get the definitive decision that it deserved, when the Supreme Court finally extended arts protections to video games in Brown versus the Entertainment Merchants Association in a 7-2 ruling. Of course, the legal definition of video games stands quite apart from their philosophical definition, but in the time span of all those legal decisions, the scope of video games has expanded to include things like Myst, Grand Theft Auto, The Sims, RPGs with narratives more compelling than most science fiction in Hollywood or contemporary literature. Games today have real and fully realized economies, like the one which was shaken to its core in EVE Online when this mega space battle from earlier this year destroyed in-game spaceships to the tune of 300,000 real dollars. And visually, I don't know if you can get more digitally sophisticated than the cinematics for games like Batman Arkham Asylum or Elder Scrolls. I don't know if you can find an experience more elegant than the gameplay for Super Mario Galaxy or Fez. Do all of these things, complex as they are, add up to art? Well, at the core of this is the question of whether something that must be categorized as a game can also be categorized as a work of art. To be sure, all kinds of artistic expression involve some interaction with the source material, but is the physical interaction in gaming of some kind of qualitatively disqualifying kind? I've always been a stickler for distinctions, for philosophical labels, but it's questions like this that make me think about why. People are very precious about art, and they try to include all the things they love under its masthead, like advertising or cooking. But to me, the desperate attempt to have games included in the art speaks less to the significance of the category of art than the curious lack of significance we attach in comparison to the category of games. The extraordinary injection of subtlety and beauty into the universe of video games seems to me a herald of what gaming can and will be to us in the future. In the 2012 game called Journey, you play as a robed figure in the desert, moving slowly, gracefully, wordlessly toward a shining mountain in the distance. The goal is singular, but gradually informed by traces of a faded civilization that you discover along the way. The gameplay, the music, the symbolism of the culture that was lost puts you in an emotional space unique to all other forms of media. Reaching the mountain is like an apotheosis, and like the apotheoses of art, it is the kind that life itself is incapable of sustaining. Contained in this game is a meditation both on the unspoiled image of what we want and its profound, unsatisfactory reflection, what we are. Fuck yeah for video games. Thanks for watching and allowing a sort of non-gamer to take part in this really fascinating discussion. I still do play Mario Kart on a regular basis, so that should get me something. If you like this video, please share it on Reddit. That's just been the best way to get these videos out there. And follow me on Twitter and Tumblr and ask me anything you want in the comments and I will reply to you. I'll see you next Friday.